The stolen ship hung in the darkness above Earth like a waiting predator. Inside the cramped cockpit, Kralmox stared at the blue and green planet below. His clawed fingers tightened on the armrest of his chair. 30 years. 30 long years since he had last seen this cursed world. His reptilian eyes, yellow with vertical slits, narrowed as memories flooded back. Memories of pain. Memories of shame. Memories of defeat. Kralmox was Vryn, a warrior species that had conquered 40 star systems. He stood 8 feet tall, covered in dark green scales harder than most metals. His muscles were thick and powerful, built for killing. Sharp teeth filled his mouth, and his claws could tear through steel. By all measures, he was a perfect predator. But 30 years ago, a human had beaten him. A single, primitive human named J1. The memory burned like acid in his mind. Kralmox had been younger then, eager to prove himself. He had heard stories of Earth, the Deathworld, where impossible creatures called humans lived. They came from a planet with crushing gravity, extreme weather, and countless dangers. Yet somehow, they had not just survived, but thrived. Young Vryn warriors often came to Earth to hunt humans. It was a test of skill. Kill a Deathworlder, earn glory and respect. Kralmox had been so confident when he landed in the wilderness of the Korean mountains. He had tracked J1 for 3 days. The human was a soldier, trained and strong, but Kralmox had better weapons, better armor, and the natural advantages of his species. The fight should have been easy. It was not easy. J1 had been cunning. He set traps. He used the terrain. He refused to fight fair. When Kralmox's energy weapon ran out of charge, the human attacked with primitive firearms. When those ran out, he used blades. When the blades broke, he used rocks and his bare hands. The battle lasted 2 days. Kralmox had never fought anything so relentless. Humans did not stop. They did not give up. Even bleeding and broken, J1 kept coming. His species had evolved as persistence hunters, chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. That same terrible endurance made them nightmare opponents in combat. In the end, Kralmox had lost. J1 had beaten him unconscious and left him alive. A mercy that felt worse than death. When Kralmox returned to his people, he was cast out from the warrior caste. He was a failure, a disgrace. For 30 years, he had trained. He had upgraded his body with cybernetic enhancements. He had studied combat techniques from a dozen species. He had made himself stronger, faster, deadlier than ever before. All for this moment. All for revenge. Beginning planetary scan, the ship's computer announced in its flat, mechanical voice. Kralmox watched as data streamed across his screen. He expected to see the Earth. He remembered a primitive world with basic technology and scattered cities. What he saw made his blood run cold. The planet below was covered in massive megacities that stretched for hundreds of miles. Gleaming towers of metal and glass reached toward the sky. Orbital stations circled the planet in perfect formations. Defense satellites bristled with weapons he did not recognize. This cannot be right, Kralmox muttered. He ran the scan again. The results were the same. In just 30 years, Earth had transformed. The technology readings showed advancement far beyond what should have been possible. The Vryn Empire had not changed this much in 300 years. Kralmox felt a cold worry in his chest, but he pushed it down. It did not matter. He was not here to study human civilization. He was here to kill one human. J1. Locate human biosignature. J1. Former military designation 7742. He commanded the computer. The scanner worked for several minutes, searching through billions of human life signs. Finally, it beeped. Target located. Sol Prime, Research District, Sector 9. Kralmox studied the location data. Sol Prime was one of the massive megacities, home to nearly 50 million humans. The research district was heavily secured. Strange. Why would an old soldier be there? J1 should be retired by now. Probably living quietly somewhere remote. Unless he was not retired. Kralmox plotted his approach vector. He would take the stealth ship down under cover of darkness, land in the outskirts, and infiltrate on foot. His enhancements would let him move unseen. His weapons would punch through any security. He would find J1, kill him, and leave before the humans even knew he was there. As he began the descent, Kralmox allowed himself to feel satisfaction. Revenge was close now. He could almost taste it. The ship slipped through Earth's atmosphere like a ghost, invisible to sensors. Kralmox marveled at how good human detection systems had become, even as his stolen Vryn technology defeated them. The planet had indeed changed. He landed in an abandoned industrial zone on the edge of Sol Prime. The buildings here were old by human standards, maybe 20 years, already being torn down for newer construction. Humans built and rebuilt constantly, always changing, always growing. Kralmox activated his cloaking field and left the ship. The city stretched before him, a forest of lights and sound. Flying vehicles zipped between buildings. Holographic advertisements glowed in the night. Millions of humans moved through the streets below. He moved silently across rooftops, heading toward the research district. His cybernetic enhancements made him faster and quieter than any natural Vryn. His vision could see in multiple spectrums. His armor could deflect most weapons. He was the perfect killer, returning to finish what had started 30 years ago. It took him 3 hours to reach the facility where J1 was located. When he finally saw it, Kralmox paused. The building was enormous. A tower of white metal and blue glass that stretched 200 stories into the sky. Security was everywhere. Drones patrolled the air. Sensors covered every approach. Armed guards in advanced armor stood at every entrance. This was not a place for a retired soldier. This was something else. Kralmox studied the security patterns for an hour, learning their rhythms. Then he moved. His cloaking field bent light around him. His hacking tools, stolen from a dozen worlds, broke through electronic locks. He slipped past guards like smoke, invisible and silent. Inside, the facility was even more impressive. Clean white corridors stretched in every direction. Scientists in lab coats hurried past, carrying tablets and discussing projects. Robots moved equipment. Holographic displays showed data he could not understand. He followed J1's biosignature to the upper levels. Each floor required higher security clearance. Each floor had better defenses. Kralmox bypassed them all, his pride growing. Human security was nothing compared to Vryn warrior skills. Finally, he reached a laboratory on the 150th floor. Through the window, he could see a man working at a terminal. The man was tall for a human, with black hair touched with gray. He wore simple clothes and looked focused on his work. Kralmox felt his heart's beat faster. After 30 years, there he was. J1. The human looked older, but only slightly. He should have been in his 60s by now, but he moved like someone much younger. His shoulders were still broad. His movements were still precise and controlled. Kralmox checked his weapons. His plasma blade was charged. His energy pistol was ready. His armor systems were at full power. He deactivated his cloaking field and stepped through the door. J1 looked up from his terminal. For a long moment, the two stared at each other across the laboratory. Then J1 smiled. It was not a smile of fear or surprise. It was a smile of recognition. Kralmox, the human said in perfect Vryn language. We've been expecting you. The laboratory lights suddenly blazed red. Alarms began to scream, and Kralmox realized, too late, that he had walked into a trap. The red lights painted the laboratory in blood colors. Kralmox's battle instincts took over immediately. He raised his energy pistol and fired at J1. The shot never reached the human. A shimmering barrier of light appeared in the air between them. The energy blast hit it and scattered into harmless sparks. Kralmox fired again. Same result. The barrier did not even flicker. Hard light shielding, J1 said calmly, as if he were teaching a class. We developed it 8 years ago. Your weapons are 60 years old, Kralmox. They can't hurt me, Kralmox snarled and activated his plasma blade. The white-hot energy hummed to life in his hand. He lunged forward with the speed of his cybernetic enhancements, crossing the room in a heartbeat. The floor beneath him suddenly changed. Gravity reversed. Kralmox found himself flying upward toward the ceiling. He twisted in midair, confused and disoriented. Then gravity shifted again, slamming him sideways into a wall. Pain exploded through his body. His armor absorbed most of the impact, but not all. He crashed to the floor, struggling to stand. Gravitational field generators, J1 explained, still standing calmly behind his shield. We learned a lot from the species that visit us. We take their technology and make it better. Kralmox roared in fury and tried to charge again. This time, the walls themselves moved. Panels slid aside and dozens of small drones emerged, each one bristling with weapons. They surrounded him in seconds, their guns glowing with plasma energy. I wouldn't move if I were you, a new voice said. Kralmox turned to see a human female enter the laboratory. She was small by human standards, maybe 5.5 feet tall, with short black hair and dark eyes. She wore a black combat suit that seemed to shimmer and shift. This is Hyun, J1 said. She's the chief of security here. Hyun moved, and Kralmox's eyes could barely track her. One moment, she was at the door. The next, she was beside him, moving faster than should be possible. She struck him twice in the ribs with strikes that felt like hammer blows, then was back at the door before he could react. Kralmox gasped for air. His armor had absorbed the hits, but he felt them through the metal. How was a small human so fast? So strong? Enhanced reflexes, Hyun said with a slight smile. Neural augmentation, muscle fiber enhancement, and bone density treatment. I'm about 20 times faster than a normal human now. 20 times. The words echoed in Kralmox's mind. A normal human was already dangerous. What was a human 20 times faster? Why are you doing this? Kralmox demanded, looking at J1. Why not just kill me? Because you're not here to kill me, J1 replied. He stepped around the hard light barrier, approaching without fear. You're here because you're angry, because you feel humiliated. I understand that. But killing you would be pointless. I defeated you, Kralmox shouted. 30 years ago, You lost, J1 interrupted quietly. But you need to understand something, Kralmox. You didn't lose to me. You lost to what humanity could become. The door opened again. This time, a young human male entered. He looked barely 20 years old, thin and pale, wearing glasses and casual clothes. He did not look like a warrior at all. This is Tae-min, J1 said. Show him Tae-min. The young man's eyes suddenly changed. They glowed with a soft blue light. He raised his hand, and every screen in the laboratory turned on. Data flowed across them too fast to read. The drones that surrounded Kralmox all moved in perfect unison, performing an intricate dance in the air. Neural interface, Tae-min said in a quiet voice. His words came faster than normal speech, as if his brain was processing information at incredible speeds. Direct connection to all computer systems in the building. I can control everything. Lights, doors, security, weapons. I am the building. Kralmox stared in horror. This young human, who looked like he could barely fight, commanded technology like it was part of his own body. We've changed, J1 said. 30 years ago, when you came to Earth, we were strong because of our world. High gravity made us tough. Extreme conditions made us adaptable. Evolution made us persistent. But we were technologically behind. Do you know what we did after you left? Kralmox did not answer. He was trying to calculate escape routes. But everywhere he looked, He saw defenses he could not beat. We learned, J1 continued. Every alien species that came to Earth, we studied them. The Vryn, the Kelthans, the Prox, the Yithians. We took their technology, reverse-engineered it, and improved it. We combined it with our own Deathworlder advantages. We became something new. You're monsters, Kralmox whispered. No, Hyon said sharply. We're survivors. Your species comes from a gentle world, low gravity, stable climate, few predators. You had to build technology to become warriors. We were born warriors. We just needed better tools. J1 nodded. I'm 65 years old, Kralmox. I should be old and weak by now. But we've extended our lifespans, enhanced our bodies. I'm stronger and faster than I was when we fought. And I'm still learning. Still improving. Kralmox felt something he had not felt in 30 years. True fear. These humans were not the same species he had fought. They had evolved. Not through generations, but through will and science. They had weaponized their own nature. I'm going to let you leave, J1 said. The drones will escort you out of the building. You'll go back to your ship and leave Earth's solar system. If you ever come back, we'll destroy you. Why let me go? Because I want you to tell your people what you saw here, J1 replied. I want the Vryn Empire to know. Humans are not prey anymore. We are not primitives to be hunted for sport. If your people come here looking for glory, they'll find only death. Taemin's eyes glowed brighter. The drones moved to form a corridor leading to the door. Kralmox knew he had no choice. He could fight and die here, or he could leave and live with another failure. He chose to live. Kralmox walked slowly toward the door, his mind racing. The drones followed him through the corridors, down elevator shafts, through hallways filled with human workers who barely glanced at him. They all seemed so casual, so unconcerned, as if a 8-foot alien warrior was nothing unusual. How many alien visitors did they get? As he moved through the building, Kralmox saw more and more things that shocked him. Humans lifting equipment that should have required machines. Holographic displays showing star maps of systems far from Earth. Weapons being tested that made his own gear look like ancient tools. Finally, he reached the ground floor. The drones stopped at the exit. Beyond the doors, he could see the city stretching into the night. Wait, a voice called. Kralmox turned to see Hyon approaching. She moved at normal speed now, but he knew she could blur into motion at any moment. One more thing you should know, she said. J1 isn't special among humans. There are millions like him. Millions who've been enhanced. And more, every day. We're not just a few warriors anymore. We're becoming an entire species of Deathworlders, with technology better than anything in the known galaxy. She stepped closer, her dark eyes meeting his yellow ones. Tell your people to stay away from Earth. Tell them humanity has ascended. Tell them that if the Vryn Empire wants war, we'll give them extinction. Then she turned and walked away, leaving Kralmox standing at the door. He stepped out into the night. The city hummed with life around him. Millions of humans. Millions of Deathworlders. And if what Hyon said was true, millions who were being enhanced and upgraded. Kralmox made his way back to his ship, moving through shadows and alleys. His pride was wounded worse than 30 years ago. Then, he had lost a fight. Now, he had lost before the fight even began. He reached his ship and climbed inside. His hands shook as he started the launch sequence. The ship lifted off, rising towards space. But as Earth fell away below him, Kralmox did not feel relief. He felt something else. He had come here thinking he was the hunter. But from the moment he entered Earth's solar system, they had been watching him, tracking him. They knew he was coming. They let him land, let him infiltrate their facility. J1 said they had been expecting him. That meant they had planned this. All of it, which meant he was never the hunter at all. He was the prey. Kralmox did not leave Earth's solar system. Instead, He hid his ship in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, among countless rocks and debris. There, he watched and waited, and tried to understand what humanity had become. His pride would not let him flee. Not again. Not without understanding his enemy. Using his ship's long-range sensors, he observed Earth from a safe distance. What he saw fascinated and terrified him in equal measure. The planet was a hive of activity. Hundreds of ships came and went every day. Some were cargo vessels, hauling resources from the moon and asteroid mines. Others were passenger ships carrying humans to orbital stations and colonies on Mars. Still others were military vessels, sleek and deadly, bristling with weapons. Earth had not just advanced, it had exploded into space. But Kralmox wanted to understand more than just their technology. He wanted to understand the humans themselves. So, he did something risky. He took a shuttle down to Earth again, but this time to a different location. A place with less security. A place where ordinary humans lived. He landed in the undercity of Sol Prime, the lower levels where the sun barely reached between the massive towers above. Here, the buildings were older, built on top of even older structures. It was darker, grittier, but still cleaner and more organized than most Vryn cities. Kralmox activated his cloaking field and moved through the streets like a ghost. He watched humans go about their daily lives. Workers heading to factories. Families eating in restaurants. Children playing in parks. They looked so normal. So fragile. How could these creatures be dangerous? Then he saw something that made him stop. A loading dock where a single human man was unloading cargo containers from a transport truck. The containers were massive, each one weighing at least 2 tons according to Kralmox's scanner. On any Vryn world, it would take a power loader machine or 3 strong workers to move one. The human was doing it alone. Kralmox watched in silence as the man, middle-aged with graying hair and wearing simple work clothes, simply grabbed each container and lifted it. His muscles flexed, but he did not seem to strain. He moved the containers like they were light boxes, stacking them with casual efficiency. The man's name tag read, Dong-hyun. When Dong-hyun finished, he wiped his forehead and took a drink from a water bottle. He did not look special. He looked completely ordinary. But he had just done something that should have been impossible for a creature his size. Kralmox scanned him with his ship's medical sensors, patching the data to his armor computer. The results shocked him. Dong-hyun's bones were laced with a carbon-titanium compound, making them nearly unbreakable. His muscles had been enhanced with synthetic fibers that multiplied his strength. His heart and lungs were more efficient than natural human organs. He had been engineered to be stronger, tougher, better. And according to the medical scan, 40% of humans in Sol Prime had similar enhancements. 40%. Kralmox moved to a different district, watching a medical clinic. Through the window, he saw a female doctor named G1 treating patients. She used handheld devices that scanned bodies in seconds, diagnosing problems that would take Vryn doctors hours. She performed minor surgery with tools so precise they worked at the cellular level. Medicine that would require a full Vryn hospital was being done in a small street clinic. Over the next several days, Kralmox observed and learned. He hacked into human information networks, reading their history files. What he discovered changed everything he thought he knew. After Kralmox's defeat 30 years ago, something had shifted in humanity. They realized they were not alone in the universe. They realized they were physically superior to many species because of their harsh homeworld, but technologically inferior. J1 had become a leader in the movement to change that. He argued that humanity needed to enhance themselves, to combine their Deathworlder nature with advanced technology. Many humans agreed. The Human Enhancement Initiative was born. At first, it was voluntary. Soldiers and workers got enhancements to do their jobs better. But the benefits were so obvious that more and more humans chose to be enhanced. Better health, longer life, increased strength and speed. Who would refuse such gifts? Within 20 years, enhancement became normal. Now, most humans had at least basic modifications. Some, like Hyun and Taemin, had advanced far beyond that. But it was not just physical enhancement. Kralmox read about their technological progress with growing dread. 30 years ago, humans had sent a few primitive rockets to their moon. Now, they had colonies on Mars, mining stations in the asteroid belt, and research outposts on the moons of Jupiter. Their ships could travel faster than light using drives they had copied and improved from the Kelthans. They had reverse-engineered technology from every species that visited Earth. Vrin energy weapons, Prox holographic systems, Yithian gravitational technology, Kelthan FTL drives. They took it all, studied it, and made it better. Humans were natural engineers, Kralmox realized. Their death world had forced them to be creative, to solve problems with limited resources, give them advanced technology, and they would improve it in ways the original creators never imagined. But it was their philosophy that truly frightened him. Kralmox found a recording of J1 speaking at a conference 10 years ago. The human looked the same as he did now, barely aged, standing before thousands of people. "We are Deathworlders," J1 had said in the recording. "Earth tried to kill us for millions of years. Predators hunted us. Diseases infected us. Weather extremes tested us. Gravity crushed us. And we survived. We survived by being stubborn, by being adaptable, by never giving up." The crowd had cheered. "Other species think we are brutal because we come from a brutal world. They are right. We are brutal. We are efficient. We are relentless. These are not weaknesses. These are our strengths. Now we must weaponize those strengths. We must combine our Deathworlder nature with technology. We must become what evolution made us, the ultimate survivors." The crowd had roared its approval. Kralmox turned off the recording. His hands were shaking. He understood now. Humans were not trying to become peaceful or civilized like other advanced species. They were doing the opposite. They were taking their violent, competitive, never-quit nature and amplifying it with science. They were building a species of super predators. He searched for more information about Earth's expansion into space. What he found made his blood run cold. Human ships had begun exploring beyond their solar system. They had made contact with several species, offering trade and friendship. But they had also shown their military power. When a pirate fleet tried to raid a human mining colony, the response was swift and brutal. Human warships hunted down every pirate vessel and destroyed them. No survivors, no mercy. Other species were starting to notice, starting to worry. The Kelthans had closed their borders to human ships. The Prox had issued warnings about human aggression. Even the mighty Yithians were watching humanity with concern. The galaxy was afraid of what Earth was becoming. Kralmox sat in his hidden shuttle, processing all this information. He thought about his own people, the Vrin Empire. They were warriors. Yes, they were proud of their military strength. But they were also old and set in their ways. They had not changed in centuries. Humans had changed everything in just 30 years. A terrible thought occurred to Kralmox. What if he had not lost to J1 30 years ago? What if he had won? What if he had killed that human and claimed his glory? He would have gone home a hero. He would have told his people that humans were easy prey. Other young Vrin warriors would have come to Earth to hunt. More and more would have come, and they would have taught humanity that they needed to be even stronger, even more dangerous. They would have accelerated human militarization. Kralmox had lost the battle, but by losing, he might have saved his species from something worse. Because now, looking at all the data, Kralmox understood the terrible truth. Humanity was not just advancing, they were preparing, building up their technology, enhancing their people, expanding into space. They were getting ready for war, not a war of conquest. J1's speeches made that clear. Humans did not want to dominate the galaxy. They wanted to make sure no one could dominate them. They were building the capability to defend themselves against any threat. But a species with that much power, that much technology, that much Deathworlder ferocity, they would not stay defensive forever. They could not. Their nature would not allow it. Kralmox made a decision. He could not kill J1. He understood that now. But he could not let this threat continue to grow unchecked either. He needed to send a message to the Vryn Empire. They needed to know what humanity was becoming. They needed to prepare for the future, when humans would inevitably expand beyond their small corner of space. But if he just told them, would they believe him? Would they take him seriously? A disgraced warrior who had failed twice? No. He needed proof. He needed to show them. Kralmox began planning. He would lure J1 out. Not to kill him, but to test him. To see the full extent of human capabilities. And he would record everything and send it to his people. He would go back to where it all started. The mountains where they first fought. The place where Kralmox had learned to fear Deathworlders. He would challenge J1 one more time, not for revenge, for the survival of his species. Because if the Vryn Empire did not understand the threat, they would make the same mistake Kralmox had made 30 years ago. And this time, there would be no second chances. The DMZ Memorial Forest was a strange place. Once, it had been a militarized zone between two human nations. Now, it was a protected wilderness, preserved as a reminder of old conflicts. Ancient trees grew tall and thick. Streams ran clear over smooth stones. Wildlife moved freely through the undergrowth. It was here, 30 years ago, that Kralmox had fought and lost to J1. Now he stood in a clearing, waiting. His armor was fully charged. His weapons were ready. Around his neck, he wore a small device that transmitted everything he saw and heard directly to a Vryn communications relay at the edge of the solar system. His people would see what humanity had become. He had sent a message to J1's facility 3 hours ago. The message was simple. Come alone to where we first fought, or I will destroy the medical clinic on 6th Street. The doctor, G1, and her patients will die. Kralmox had no intention of actually harming civilians. But he needed J1 to come. Needed him to come alone. Human warrior pride would not allow J1 to refuse such a challenge. The forest was quiet. Birds sang in the trees. Wind rustled through leaves. It was peaceful. Beautiful even. Kralmox had forgotten that Earth could be beautiful. He had only remembered it as a place of pain and defeat. You picked a good spot, a voice said. Kralmox spun around. J1 stood at the edge of the clearing, wearing simple gray clothing. No armor, no visible weapons. He looked relaxed, hands in his pockets, like he was out for a casual walk. You came alone, Kralmox said. You asked me to. J1 walked into the clearing, looking around at the trees. I remember this place. We fought for 2 days. You were so strong. So fast. I thought I was going to die. You should have died, Kralmox replied. I had every advantage. Except one, J1 said with a slight smile. I wanted to live more than you wanted to kill. Kralmox felt his anger rising, but he controlled it. Anger made warriors sloppy. I did not bring you here for revenge anymore. J1 raised an eyebrow. No. I brought you here because my people need to understand what you have become. They need to see you. All of you. Kralmox gestured to the transmitter on his neck. They are watching now. I know. J1 said calmly. We detected your transmission 3 hours ago. We've been listening to your relay since you sent your message. Kralmox felt his confidence waver. Of course they had detected it. Human sensor technology was better than Vryn equipment now. Then you know why I am here, Kralmox said. You told me that you wanted me to tell my people about humanity. I am doing that. But words are not enough. They need to see what you can do. Kralmox. J1 nodded slowly. You want to test me? To see how much we've advanced? Yes. And if I refuse, then I will find another way. But this is cleaner. Simpler. 2 warriors. 1 battlefield. Just like before. J1 was quiet for a moment, looking up at the sky. Then he spoke, but not to Kralmox. You heard him, Hyun. What do you think? Kralmox's eyes widened. He activated his sensors, scanning the area. There, hidden in the trees, thermoptic camouflage, active. At least 20 human soldiers surrounded the clearing, invisible until his advanced scanners found them. And somewhere overhead, he detected the faint energy signature of orbital weapons. I think he's desperate. Hyun's voice came from the forest. She stepped out from behind a tree, her camouflage deactivating. She wore full combat armor now, sleek and black. But I also think he's right. The Vryn Empire needs to understand. More soldiers emerged from the forest. All of them wore advanced armor. All of them carried weapons that made Kralmox's gear look primitive. You were never alone, Kralmox said, his voice flat. Of course not, J1 replied. I'm not stupid, Kralmox. You threatened civilians. Did you really think I would come without backup? I would not have harmed them. I know. You're a warrior, not a murderer, but I couldn't take that chance. J1 walked closer, stopping a few feet away. You want to show your people what humanity has become? Fine. I'll give you that. But you need to understand something first. What? You didn't come here to test me. You came here to be tested. J1's expression grew serious. Hyun was right earlier. We've been developing countermeasures against the Vryn Empire. Your biology. Your technology. Your combat patterns. We took DNA from our first fight from the blood you left behind. We've studied your species for 30 years. Kralmox felt cold dread spreading through his body. You are not here for revenge, J1 continued. You are here because we let you be here. We tracked you from the moment you entered our solar system. We could have destroyed your ship, but we didn't. We wanted to see what you would do. How you would react. You are not a threat, Kralmox. You are a test subject. The words hit harder than any physical blow. Kralmox had thought he was the hunter, then realized he was prey. But it was worse than that. He was a laboratory specimen. Show him, Taemin, Jaiwan said. The young human appeared from the forest, his eyes glowing with that eerie blue light. He raised his hand, and a holographic display appeared in the air between them. It showed data, lots of data. Kralmox's biosignature, his ship's specifications, his weapons technology, his cybernetic enhancements, everything about him, analyzed and catalogued. We know exactly how strong you are, Taemin said in his rapid, computer-like voice. How fast you can move. What weapons you carry. What your armor can withstand. We have run 10,000 combat simulations. In every single one, we win. Kralmox wanted to argue, but he could not. The data was right there. They knew everything about him. But this is not just about you, J1 said. This is about your species. We've been studying the Vryn Empire. Your military capabilities. Your technology level. Your expansion patterns. We know where your colonies are. We know how many ships you have. We know your strengths and weaknesses. Why? Kralmox demanded. Because you might come back, J1 said simply. Not you specifically, but your people. Young warriors looking for glory. Hunting parties seeking trophies. We needed to be ready. Hyun stepped forward. When we fight the Vryn Empire, and we will eventually, because that is how these things work, we will not lose. We have planned for this. We have prepared. You want war? Kralmox asked, confused. No, J1 said firmly. We want to make sure war never happens. We want to be so strong, so advanced, so clearly superior, that no one dares to attack us. Peace through strength. It is an old human concept. That is madness. You cannot achieve peace by becoming the strongest predator. Why not? J1 asked. That is exactly what the Vryn Empire did, what every major galactic power has done. They built weapons, conquered territories, and forced others to respect them. We are just doing it faster. Better. With more efficiency. Kralmox felt his world crumbling. Everything he believed about honor, about combat, about the natural order of strong and weak, it all meant nothing to these humans. They had taken warfare and turned it into a science. You said you wanted your people to see, J1 said. So let us show them. Not a fight. Something better. Hyun? The female warrior nodded. She touched a control on her wrist, and suddenly the forest lit up with light. Holographic displays appeared everywhere, showing images and data. Images of human colonies on other worlds. Images of human ships patrolling trade routes. Images of human soldiers training with weapons that bent reality itself. Images of orbital defense platforms that could destroy entire fleets. This is what we have built in 30 years, J1 said, his voice carrying across the clearing. This is what happens when Deathworlders decide to advance. We took our natural advantages, our strength, our endurance, our adaptability, and we multiplied them with technology. We became what evolution designed us to be. Survivors. The best survivors in the galaxy. More images appeared. Human scientists working on projects Kralmox could not even understand. Artificial intelligence that learned and adapted faster than any organic mind. Weapons that manipulated gravity, time, and space itself. We are not your enemy, J1 said, looking directly at where Kralmox's transmitter would be sending images to the Vryn relay. We do not want to conquer the galaxy. We do not want to dominate other species. We just want to be left alone to grow and advance in peace. He paused, letting the images continue to display. But if anyone threatens us, if anyone attacks Earth or human colonies, if anyone tries to hunt us for sport or glory, J1's voice grew cold. We will respond with total force. We will not negotiate. We will not show mercy. We will destroy you utterly and completely. That is not a threat. That is a promise. The images changed, showing battle simulations, human forces against Vryn ships. The results were terrifying. In every scenario, the humans won decisively. Kralmox watched, unable to look away. His people needed to see this, needed to understand. Now, J1 said, turning back to Kralmox. You wanted to test me? Fine. Let us fight. But first, I need to know, are you doing this for revenge? For pride? Or are you truly trying to save your species? Kralmox thought about the question. Why was he really here? The anger he had carried for 30 years felt distant now. What remained was something else. Something he had not felt before. Duty. To save them, Kralmox said quietly. If they do not understand, they will come to Earth seeking glory. And they will die. End. J1 nodded. Then we fight. Not to the death, but to show them what they would face. He gestured to his soldiers. They all withdrew back into the forest, giving the clearing space. J1 rolled his shoulders, loosening his muscles. Ready when you are. Kralmox activated his plasma blade. The white energy hummed to life. And in that moment, standing in the forest where it all began, Kralmox realized something profound. He was not fighting for revenge anymore. He was fighting to deliver a message. Stay away from humanity. They have ascended beyond you. Kralmox moved first, his cybernetically enhanced body exploding into motion. He covered the distance to J1 in less than a second, plasma blade singing through the air toward the human's neck. J1 was not there. The human had moved, faster than Kralmox's eyes could track. One moment standing still, the next, behind him. Kralmox felt a foot strike his spine with incredible force, sending him stumbling forward. He spun and slashed again. J1 ducked under the blade and struck with his fist. The punch hit Kralmox's armor and dented it. Dented Vryn military armor with a bare fist. Kralmox snarled and activated his full combat suite. His armor's servos whined to life, multiplying his strength. His targeting systems locked onto J1. His neural enhancers accelerated his reaction time. They fought. It was nothing like their battle 30 years ago. Then, it had been brutal and desperate, two fighters pushing themselves to their limits. This was different. This was clinical. Precise. Like two masters demonstrating their art, J1 fought without any weapons. His enhanced body was weapon enough. Every movement was efficient, wasting no energy. He struck with fists that could shatter stone. He moved with speed that blurred reality. He predicted Kralmox's attacks before they came, reading his body language with enhanced perception. But Kralmox was no ordinary fighter either. His 30 years of training showed. His cybernetic enhancements made him faster and stronger than any natural Vryn. His plasma blade could cut through almost anything. Almost. When his blade finally connected with J1's arm, it should have severed the limb. Instead, it slid across the human's skin with a shower of sparks. Underneath his normal clothes, J1 wore a layer of synthetic skin embedded with carbon nanotubes. Not quite armor, but close enough. Impressive, J1 said, not even breathing hard. You have improved. So have you. Kralmox admitted. They circled each other, looking for openings. But Kralmox was not focused on winning anymore. He was focused on showing the Vryn Empire what humanity had become. Every move J1 made, every technique he used, was being transmitted back to his people. High above, unseen, something was happening that neither fighter knew about yet. At the edge of Earth's solar system, a Vryn battle fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 5 massive warships, each one capable of destroying a planet. They had received Kralmox's distress beacon, the one he had activated before entering the forest. The beacon that would trigger automatically if his life signs stopped. The fleet commander, War Chief Zalvor, stood on the bridge of his flagship. He had watched Kralmox's transmission. He had seen what the humans had built. And he had made a decision. Humanity was a threat. A threat that needed to be eliminated before it grew too strong. Prepare weapons, Zalvor commanded. We strike the human homeworld with everything we have. But Earth was not unprepared. The moment the Vryn fleet entered the solar system, alarms went off across every human installation. Orbital defense platforms powered up. Military vessels scrambled from shipyards on the Moon and Mars. And deep underground, in command centers across Earth, human commanders began coordinating their response. One of those commanders was General Subin, a 40-year veteran with neural enhancements that let her process tactical information faster than any computer. She stood in the Sol Defense Command, watching holographic displays that showed the Vryn fleet approaching. 5 capital ships, her tactical officer reported. Heavy cruiser class. They are charging weapons. Time to firing range? Subin asked calmly. 18 minutes at current speed. Good. Subin touched a control on her command station. Activate defensive grid. Deploy the orbital platforms. Launch the interceptor squadrons. And someone get me a line to J1. Back in the forest, J1's communication device chirped. He caught Kralmox's blade with his bare hand, the synthetic skin holding against the plasma energy, and stepped back. Hold on, he said, touching his ear. He looked at Kralmox. Your people just arrived. 5 warships at the edge of the solar system. They are heading for Earth with hostile intent. Kralmox felt his heart sink. No. This was not supposed to happen. He had sent them information. Yes. But not a call for invasion. They must have misunderstood. Or perhaps they understood perfectly and decided to act first. They are going to die, J1 said. Not angry, not upset. Just stating a fact. Stop them, Kralmox said urgently. Please. They are my people. They think they are rescuing me. No, Hyun said, stepping back into the clearing. She held a tablet, showing the space battle that was beginning. They knew exactly what they were doing. We intercepted their communications. They saw your transmission and decided we were too dangerous to let grow. They are here to destroy us. Kralmox watched the display in horror. The Vryn fleet was massive. 5 capital ships that had conquered dozens of worlds. They were the pride of the Empire. The strongest force the Vryn could field. Against them, Earth was deploying everything. Orbital defense platforms, each one bristling with railguns and missile batteries, moved into position. Squadrons of human fighters launched from the moon, their sleek forms accelerating to impossible speeds. Larger human warships emerged from behind Mars, their hulls covered in weapon ports. But it was not just the numbers. It was the technology. The first Vryn ship opened fire with plasma cannons that could melt a mountain. The beams lanced across space toward an orbital platform. The platform's shields absorbed the hit without even flickering. Then it returned fire. What emerged from the human platform was not a simple energy beam. It was a gravitational lance that warped space itself. When it hit the Vryn ship, the vessel's shields collapsed like paper. The hull crumpled inward, folding on itself as gravity crushed it. One shot. One Vryn capital ship destroyed. No, Kralmox whispered. The battle continued. Human fighters swarmed the Vryn fleet like angry insects. But each fighter moved with precision that only neural interfaces could provide. Each pilot was enhanced, their reflexes amplified, their minds directly connected to their ships. They flew in patterns that were mathematically perfect, coordinating attacks across thousands of miles of space in real time. The Vryn point defense systems, designed to fight conventional enemies, could not track them. A human warship engaged a Vryn cruiser directly. The Vryn ship was 3 times larger, more heavily armed. It should have won easily. Instead, the human ship deployed weapons that the Vryn had never seen. Antimatter torpedoes that bypassed shields, nanite swarms that ate through hull plating, quantum disruptors that made the Vryn ship's own power systems explode from within. The cruiser broke apart in a silent explosion of fire and metal. "Make it stop," Kralmox said, his voice breaking. "Please." "I cannot stop it," J1 replied quietly. "Your fleet attacked us. We are defending ourselves. This is what war looks like when you fight Deathworlders." Another Vryn ship died, torn apart by concentrated railgun fire. The slugs were traveling at significant fractions of light speed. When they hit, they carried the force of nuclear weapons. The remaining 2 Vryn ships tried to retreat, to jump back to faster than light speed. But the human forces had deployed field disruptors that prevented FTL travel in the combat zone. The Vryn ships were trapped, unable to flee. War Chief Zalvor, standing on his bridge, watched his fleet die around him. He had been so certain, so confident that Vryn superiority would prevail. They were the conquerors. They were the warriors. But humanity had taken warfare to a level he could not comprehend. They fought with weapons generations beyond Vryn technology. They moved with coordination that seemed almost psychic. Every tactic he tried, they had already anticipated and countered. "Send a communication," Zalvor ordered his communications officer. "Request parley, immediate cessation of hostilities." A response came within seconds. A female human appeared on his view screen. She wore a military uniform and had cold, calculating eyes. "I am General Subin of Earth Defense Command," she said in perfect Vryn language. "You attacked our homeworld without provocation. Why should we accept your surrender? Why? We made a mistake," Zalvor said, the words tasting like poison. "We thought you were a threat." "We are a threat," Subin replied. "We are a threat to anyone who tries to harm us. You have 2 ships left. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. If you refuse, we will destroy you." Zalvor looked at his remaining ships. They were damaged, listing, their shields failing. He had brought 5 of the Vryn Empire's finest warships to destroy a primitive world. Instead, he had lost 3 ships in less than 15 minutes. His remaining vessels were outmatched and outgunned by an enemy he had underestimated catastrophically. "We comply," he said, shame thick in his voice. In the forest, Kralmox watched the battle end on Hion's tablet. His people, the proud Vryn warriors, had been crushed, defeated, humiliated, just as he had been 30 years ago. "What will you do with them?" he asked quietly. "We will take their ships," J1 said. "Study their technology. Keep the survivors as prisoners until the Vryn Empire agrees to formal negotiations. We will establish clear boundaries. Make it known that Earth and human space are off limits. Any violation will result in immediate military response. You are declaring yourself a power in the galaxy. We are declaring that we will not be victims," J1 corrected. "We will not be hunted. We will not be threatened. We will live in peace if others allow it. But if they force war upon us, we will win." Kralmox looked at the human who had defeated him twice now. No, not defeated. Transcended. J1 was not just a better fighter. He represented a better, stronger, more evolved version of what intelligence could become. "What will you do with me?" Kralmox asked. J1 was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he said, "I am going to send you home. Back to the Vryn Empire. You will tell them what you saw here. All of it. The technology, the enhancements, the battle, everything. They will not believe me. Yes, they will. Because we are sending your war chief home too. He will confirm everything. And together, you will deliver a message to your government." "What message?" "That humanity has ascended. That we are no longer primitives playing with fire. We are Deathworlders who have weaponized our evolution and combined it with technology beyond anything the Vryn Empire possesses." J1 stepped closer. "Tell them they have 3 choices." Unbardi. Kralmox waited. "First choice, submit. Join the growing alliance of species that trade peacefully with humanity. Benefit from our technology and protection. But accept that we are the superior power in this relationship." They will never accept that. Then second choice, negotiate. Establish clear boundaries. Mutual non-aggression. We leave you alone. You leave us alone. We can coexist without conflict. And the third choice? J1's expression turned cold. War. Total war. If the Vryn Empire chooses to see us as enemies, we will oblige them. We will not conquer your worlds, but we will make sure you can never threaten us again. We will destroy your fleets, cripple your shipyards, and leave you unable to project military power beyond your own territory. We will not be cruel, but we will be thorough. The words hung in the air between them. Kralmox understood. This was not arrogance. This was absolute confidence, backed by absolute capability. "I will deliver your message," Kralmox said, "but I do not think my people will choose wisely. Pride is strong in the Vryn. Then they will learn the same lesson you learned," J1 replied. "That pride means nothing against superior force. That honor means nothing if you cannot back it up. That the universe does not care about traditions or glory. It only cares about who is strong enough to survive." Hion approached with several soldiers. "We will escort you to your ship. War Chief Zalvor will be released at the same time. You will both return to Vryn space. With our message." Kralmox nodded. He looked at J1 one last time. 30 years ago, I came to Earth to prove I was a great warrior. I failed. Today, I came to understand why. Now I know. You did not just defeat me. You showed me what true strength looks like. Strength is not about individual glory, J1 said. It is about species survival, about protecting your people, about being strong enough that no one dares to harm those you love. That is what we have built. That is what we will defend. Kralmox was escorted away, through the forest, back to his ship. As he walked, he thought about everything he had seen, everything he had learned. Humanity had been prey once, hunted by predators on their death world. They had survived by being smarter, tougher, more relentless than anything that tried to kill them. Now they had brought that same mindset to the stars. They had become the apex predators of the galaxy. And the Vryn Empire, like every other species, would have to accept the new reality. The Deathworlders had ascended. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 months later, Kralmok stood before the Vryn High Council, in the great hall where the Empire's rulers gathered. Beside him stood War Chief Zalvor, still bearing the shame of his defeat. The council members, elderly Vryn with scales dulled by age, listened as Kralmox delivered his report. He told them everything, showed them everything. The recordings of human technology, the battle in space, the message from J1. When he finished, the chamber was silent. Finally, the eldest counselor spoke. 3 choices: submit, negotiate, or face extinction. Yes, eldest, Kralmok said. The humans are truly that strong? Stronger, Zalvor said. I have commanded fleets for 40 years. I have fought in 30 campaigns. I have never seen anything like what they deployed against us. It was not just their weapons. It was their coordination, their adaptability, their absolute refusal to lose. The eldest counselor looked at the other council members. We must decide the future of our empire. What is the council's will? The debate lasted for hours. Some wanted to fight, to gather the full might of the Vryn military and crush humanity before they grew stronger. Others argued for caution, for negotiation. In the end, wisdom prevailed over pride. We will negotiate, the eldest counselor announced. Send ambassadors to Earth. Establish formal relations, and make it clear to all Vryn humanity is not to be threatened, hunted, or challenged. They are to be treated as equals, or perhaps, he paused, as superiors. The word stung, but it was honest. Kralmox felt relief wash over him. His people would survive. They would adapt. They would learn, just as he had learned 30 years ago in a forest on Earth. The predator had returned for revenge and found that the prey had evolved into something far more dangerous. And in finding that truth, he had saved his entire species from destruction.